What's up, you guys? I'm here with a new video today, and we're here to do another Yu-Gi-Oh! What If, and this one is a highly requested one. We are here to talk about what if the Dragon Rulers were no longer banned. That's right. What if the 4 Dragon Rulers came back to 1? I'm not going to be crazy. I'm not going to bring them back to 3. That would just be ridiculous. But we're here to talk about what would happen if they were back at 1 each, their impact in the current format, and what decks they'd really just kind of benefit. Because if we think about them, they were known as the Elemental Dragons, the Dragon Rulers. We have one that's fire, one that's wind, one that's water, and one that's earth. And when we look across the spectrum of Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks, we have to think, okay, what decks are really going to benefit from that? And we'll start with one of the main things. So the Dragon Rulers, as you guys know, back in 2013 just ran rampant with spell books, and they were just the best decks. The deck was crazy, being able to banish them with 7-star sword, draw cards, search the baby, search whatever, being able to use their other effects, being able to just summon them from the graveyard at will, making Draco Sack and Big Eye was insane. And the fact that you could just overwhelm the opponent, and you could summon all 4 of them at once. It was just crazy. And you guys already know it went on to win Nationals, it went on to win Worlds. It was the best deck. And in my opinion, I think it was one of the best and greatest decks of all time in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! That's just my personal opinion. I played the deck and I loved every minute of it. From when the deck was in its inception with the Baby Rulers, to when the Dragon Rulers were by themselves at 3, to when we played Dragunity Rulers, to when the Dragon Rulers went to 1 each and we played Heraldic Rulers. There were so many versions, Mythic Rulers, etc. There were so many different versions of this deck that it was nuts. Now, the one thing I'll say is that when the Dragon Rulers finally got banned, it was because of number 95, Dark Matter, Don't Matter Dragon. Believe it or not, that was the reason. It's the fact that you could just send 3 Dragon Rulers to the grave, you could use its effect, I mean, yada, yada, yada. You guys know it was nuts. And that is the reason why the Dragon Rulers, that was one of the main reasons the Dragon Rulers got banned when they were at 1, because even at 1, they were good. Soul Charge, made them insane, but they weren't unbeatable. And the deck, as good as it was not as good as like Hat, or it wasn't as good as like Lightsworn Rulers, other things like that. Like pure Mythic Dragon Rulers was good, but just not the #1 deck. So it was fine, where it was. So what would be the first thing that could happen if the Dragon Rulers came back? And most likely it would be that Dark Matter Dragon would get banned. And I know that's crazy because we've been playing, with Blue Eyes and other decks, and, we haven't really thought of, Dark Matter, it being gone, but that would have to be one of the first things that would happen. Now, if the Dragon Rulers came back right now, let's look at our current format. We have Goki as the supreme, best deck. We have Trickstar, Sky Striker, Pure Sky Striker, Alter Guys, all these different decks. And let's face it, are the Dragon Rulers better than these cards? Better than a lot of these monsters? Yeah, they kind of are. I'm going to be blunt and say it. Yeah, they really are. I'm not looking at the burn damage. I'm not looking at stuff like that from Trickstar's aspect. But when it comes to pure brutality, these cards are much better. They, can run over Trickstars like it's nothing. They can even outclass the Mech Knights if you splash the Mech Knights in there. When it comes to Goki, that's where we'll save Goki for last. But I mean, if you look at all the other decks, they don't even have to activate effects outside of the graveyard effects to really get stuff done. They can punch over Altergeist. They can do a lot of things that, a lot of other decks can't. Not only that, depending on what your monster lineup is, you can really utilize your elements. And I think more so, everyone's thinking, oh, okay, if we bring back all 4, are people going to play all 4? I'll be honest with you guys, if they came back tomorrow, I'd play Lightsworn Rulers. No joke, I'd play Lightsworn Rulers. I have an old Lightsworn Ruler deck profile here on the channel somewhere. If I can find it, I'll link it for you guys. That was back when the Rulers were at 1 each. The Lightsworn structure deck had just come out, and I mean, it was crazy. Deck was nuts. We played Eclipse Wyverns, Judgment Dragons. You guys probably remember back then how broken that deck was. It's the reason why Soul Release was sided. And I feel like if the Rulers did come back, they would be a good contender. They would be able to hold up and, fight against a lot of these decks. However, I don't really know how well they would do against Goki. And I say that because if Goki U-boarded you, I mean, sure, you could do your best to summon a Dragon Ruler, but Firewall could just bounce, and then the Ruler's summoning effect is only once per turn. I feel that would be a real problem. I feel like even if they were able to somehow crack the board, having to make a Draco Sec is not that strong. Now, the card I feel that they could really utilize is Tomahawk, being able to, make it with 2 rulers, being able to spam tokens, link summon, etc. However, I feel like even with that, I don't know if they could stand up to full power Goki right now, especially now that Summon Sorceress is legal. But it would definitely be an interesting idea, how they would fare against every other deck. Again, if you take Goki out of the picture and you just focus on Trickstar, Sky Strikers, I'm pretty sure the Dragon Rulers could just overpower them. And it's by the fact that not only because of their pure brutality, but for the fact that they just keep coming back. They just keep coming back. They create, Draco Sacks, they create other things. And the thing is, you could use the Dragon Rulers to link climb. Instead of, just focusing on Draco Sack, you could actually just link climb with them, and then utilize them. Redox having 3,000 defense is insane. Its Reborn effect is insane. The fact that, Tempest can search, Tidal being, in a sense, maybe not the strongest Dragon Ruler. However, it could be really strong in Mermail, and that's what we're going to talk about in the other part of this video, is the decks that would, benefit the most from this. And then, of course, Blaster just being your main beat stick, your 2800 beat stick that just runs over everything. Another Fire Monster, it pops a card. That effect is whatever, but the fact that it's just a 2800 beater is nuts. I think the Dragon Rulers overall coming back to 1 would be kind of crazy. I think a lot of people don't want that, and I know that's one of the first things people are going to say in the comments. Oh, I don't want that. I don't want that to ever happen. Remember, this is a what if. This is a hypothetical of what could potentially happen. So outside of that, I feel that the Rulers by themselves coming back, they would have an impact in the format. I just don't know how strong it would be. I don't know what kind of version of Dragon deck you could play. My go-to is literally the Lightsworn deck, you guys, and I say that because of how well the deck works in conjunction with the Dragon Rulers, fueling Judgment Dragon, fueling Eclipse Wyvern, banishing the Eclipse Wyvern for the Dragon Rulers, and then, getting JD to hand, as added beat stick, as added win condition. It was pretty crazy. So I feel that would actually be the way to play the deck if they came back. Now, as far as regular Mythic Rulers with all the elements works, you could run something like with Flamvel Guard and with Card Trooper now that it's at 3. You could run something that, would mill your mill your Dragon Rulers. You could play cards like Needlebug's Nest, stuff like that. The problem with that, though, is I feel those cards are too slow. Back in the older formats, it wasn't as slow, and it was, the format was slower itself, so it made it to where you could actually play them more efficiently. I feel that the Lightsworn, though, Lightsworn would really get the most benefit because Charge Mill 3 is nuts. Solar Recharge, just milling more cards in the graveyard, just fueling your Dragon Rulers is insane. I think that because of that, that would actually be the best home for the Rulers. And I say that because based on just playing the deck and just based on the elements, that would probably be the best way to go. You could play Earth monsters, you could play you could play like other fire monsters, but your main thing would be to utilize your Judgment Dragon, utilize your Eclipse Wyvern, utilize like the Koala Serpent and the Wyva Buster, use the Chaos Dragons, and I feel that that would be probably your best bet towards, making the Rulers work. Now, if the Rulers came back, like I said, it would, impact the format. However, I don't think it would be game-breaking, and that's just my personal opinion. Feel free to disagree with me. I feel that the thing is, with Reborn out, it'd be pretty crazy. With Soul Charge out, it'd be pretty crazy, but those cards are only at 1. When Rulers were around in full power, even when they were at 1, there were 3 Soul Charge. So remember that 3 Soul Charge made the deck insane. It's what gave the deck all its power. So with Soul Charge at 1, Reborn at 1, maybe they don't have as much power, but they definitely would still have, a lot of their main power intact. They don't have Rejuvenation, so they don't have any of that stuff that they had in old Baby Rulers. The Baby Rulers would have to be banned because if they brought multiple copies back or whatever, they would have to, supplement something, or else the Dragon Rulers actually by themselves as a pure deck could actually pretty much stand up to anything. And that's, again, another personal opinion. I feel full power Baby Rulers could stand up against pretty much any deck in almost any format. I feel that, again, if they came back, the main focus, I think, for the next part of this and last part of this video is what decks would benefit the most. Now, we're going to start with Blaster. Blaster is actually my personal favorite. I love it just for its beat stick ability. And if you look across the board, how many fire decks are there, you guys? Not a lot. If you think about it, you have Flamvels. No one plays that. You have Volcanics. God bless them. I don't think anyone really plays them in a competitive level. In a casual level, yes, and they could actually benefit from Blaster. The one deck, though, I feel that can maybe get away with playing Blaster as a fire deck and utilizing it the best would be Infernoids. And I know a lot of people are on the fence about Infernoids because Lair of Darkness and other stuff like that, but I feel that Dragon Ruler, having Blaster in your deck would actually be really good against just another way of adding more pressure on the board with Infernoids. And then with Blaster, I think it'd be really interesting to see, what could happen, because you could utilize the Infernoids and any dragons you run in the deck for that effect. So it's pretty cool. You could discard that and Infernoid because they're all fire and, pop a card. So there is a lot of utility in using that in Infernoids. But as far as those decks go, I feel that's the only deck that could really benefit. Next, we move on to Tempest. Now, Tempest is another... Actually, I really like all the Dragon Rulers. Like, I can't really be biased. I do love Blaster for his beat stick ability. utility, but I do love Tempest because of Dragoonides, and that would be one of the decks I would love to see try to utilize Tempest. I know Dragoonides aren't what they used to be, but back in the day, let me tell you, Dragoonide rulers were insane, and with the new Dragoonide support, it'd be interesting if Tempest came back to 1, how much more help that would give the deck. As far as like other win decks, it's kind of hard to say. I don't really see too many win decks out right now. I know Harpies being a win deck, they would play Tempest. As far as other win decks go, I'm not really sure. As far as like competitive Yu-Gi-Oh goes, of course casual Yu-Gi-Oh would be different, but we're focusing more on the competitive aspect of if the rulers came back, what impact would they have on the competitive scene. Hard to say though. I think outside of Dragoonides, and I don't really know like what other decks could really utilize Tempest, but I mean, it's just the fact that if it came back, what wonders it would work for the deck. Then we move on to Tidal, and Tidal, I don't even need to say it, you guys. You already know Tidal in Mermails would be insane. Second Mermails with Tidal, I mean, need I say more? Pretty crazy. You can Foolish Burial with Tidal's effect. Yeah, it does not get better than that. Mermails are already an OTK deck. Give them a Dragon Ruler, and they're even more of a force to be reckoned with. So, be pretty interesting to see how that would work out for Mermails if Tidal did come back to 1. So it's interesting when you think about it. I know it's kind of crazy, but yeah, it's nuts. So I think Tidal in Mermails would be insane. And then last but not least, Redox, the 3000 ass that is. It'd be interesting because I feel like Redox could get a lot of utility. I feel like decks would find a way, to incorporate it. Now, if you look at a lot of decks these days, they're kind of light based. I know that's kind of weird, but I don't know if anyone's really noticed that. Like, what is it? If you look at Trickstar, they're mostly all light-based. If you look at Lightsworns, of course, name given, they are light-based. If you look at Goki, now Goki is interesting because Goki's kind of all over the place. I think that the one thing people forget about is that since Goki are, since it's so much of a link-based deck, I don't see how they could ever really want to utilize any of the Dragon Rulers. I feel that, they do have their different types. Headbat is Earth, and, there are other cards. I think, like, to be honest, I feel that they would utilize, they would actually, I think, use Tempest the most. I'm trying to remember, forgive me if I'm wrong. I don't know that much. I don't actually play Goki, so I don't remember. But to my knowledge, I believe they're all Earth. Yes, they are all Earth. I take that back, you guys. Goki would be even stronger because being all Earth, they could utilize Redox, and that would actually be ridiculous. Could you imagine with Goki playing Redox, just another added piece of their puzzle? Like, not only can they U-Link you, but they could possibly, spam a Tomahawk. They could do more stuff like that. I think, oh my god, like, just thinking about it just makes my mind just like, oh, my brain is like blown because how crazy that would be. I realized it wasn't Gozen that hurts the deck, it's rivalry, unless they're U-boarding you. But think about it, if they utilize all their, in-grave Gokis and then bring up the ability to bring up Redox, how nuts that would be. So if you look across the board, there are decks that would still benefit from the Dragon Rulers coming back to 1 today. But the overall question is, if they came back, would they make an impact? And I feel that yes, they would, but they wouldn't make the impact everyone thinks. They would not break the game. They would not make Yu-Gi-Oh! Insane, and they would not make people want to quit this game. If everyone remembers, when the Rulers went to 1, yes, they were still relevant, yes, they were still powerful, but they weren't the best deck. Everyone thought Heraldic Rulers was going to just break Yu-Gi-Oh! Everyone thought Mythic Rulers was going to break Yu-Gi-Oh! Everyone thought Lightsworn Rulers was going to break Yu-Gi-Oh! And I personally love Lightsworn Rulers, but I feel like even with that, they weren't the best deck. So I think overall, if the Dragon Rulers came back to 1, they would impact the game, but not, in a way that would end the game. I feel that they would add, added resiliency to, their attribute-based decks. They would, give other decks new utilities. They would give decks new abilities to make monsters they weren't able to make before. And I feel that they would just add more pressure. I feel all of these decks would benefit by having an added pressure beat stick. And I feel that people would try their absolute best to make a Mythic Ruler or just any kind of Dragon Ruler deck, just for not only for nostalgia, but also for the ability to play probably some of the best printed cards in the game. But those are my opinions. I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments below. What do you think our game would be like if the Dragon Rulers came back to 1. Like the question asked, what if the Dragon Rulers were no longer banned? What if they came back to 1? What impact would they have in the game, and would you yourself play them, and in what strategy? I'm sure I missed plenty of strategies. I'm sure I missed, you know, the combos you could do with the cards. I'm sure I missed decks you could utilize them in. I mean, I just realized, you know, I just kind of dumbfounded. I had a brain fart, you know, how powerful it'd be in Goki if you actually think about it before you start link climbing. It'd be insane. But I'd like to know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you think the Dragon Rulers can come back to 1? And if they did, what impact would they have in the format? And also, what repercussions would have to happen in order to support them coming back besides Dark Matter Dragon being banned? Is there anything else that would need to be done to stop them from running rampant and making another 2013 format? But that's all I got to say, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Let me know another Yu-Gi-Oh! What If you'd like to see here covered on the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.